यही अर्चना है। धर्म रक्षा में हम प्राण दें, न अधर्मी कभी हम बने। झूठे वैभव को हम त्याग कर सर्वदा सत्य राही बने। न कभी हमको अभिमान हो, बस यही एक आराधना है। हे प्रभु ज्ञान का दान दो, हम सभी की यही वंदना। सदाचारी रहे हम सदा, और सदाचार ही संपदा। न जगे मन में ईर्ष्या कभी, प्रीत की ही बहे नर्मदा। छल कपट से रहे दूर हम, मिलके करते यही कामना है। हे प्रभु ज्ञान का दान दो, हम सभी की यही वंदना है। लाखों बाधाएं आए तो क्या, मोह भरमाए हमको तो क्या। जिसे मिल जाए तेरी शरण, धैर्य टूटेगा उसका कहा। हम भक्तों को तुमसे प्रभु यही वरदान तो मांगना है। हे प्रभु ज्ञान का दान दो, हम सभी की यही वंदना है। दूर दुर्गुण सभी हम करें, हम सभी की यही अर्चना है। हम सभी की यही अर्चना है। क्या हुआ?
The story begins in the most artfully artless way, like the great tales of Defoe and Swift. We sailed from Peru, where we had continued for the space of 1 whole year, for China and Japan by the South Sea. Came a great calm, in which the ships for weeks lay quiet on the boundless ocean like specks upon a mirror, while the provisions of the adventurers ebbed away. And then resistless winds drove the vessels pitilessly north and north and north, out of the island dotted south into an endless wilderness of sea. The rations were reduced and reduced again, and again reduced, and disease took hold of the crew. At last, when they had resigned themselves to death, they saw, almost unbelieving, a fair island looming up under the sky. On the shore, as their vessel neared it, they saw not savages, but men simply and yet beautifully clothed, clean and manifestly of developed intelligence. They were permitted to land, but were told that the island government allowed no strangers to remain. Nevertheless, since some of the crew were sick, they might all stay till these were well again. During the weeks of convalescence, the wanderers unraveled, day by day, the mystery of the new Atlantis. There reigned in this island about 1900 years ago, one of the inhabitants tells them, a king whose memory above all others we most adore. His name was Solomona, and we esteem him as the lawgiver of our nation. This king had a large heart and was wholly bent to make his kingdom and people happy. Among the excellent acts of that king, one above all hath the preeminence. It was the creation and institution of the order, or society, which is called Solomon's house, the noblest foundation, as we think, that was ever upon the earth, and the lantern of this kingdom. There follows a description of Solomon's house, too complicated for a quoted abstract, but eloquent enough to draw from the hostile Macaulay the judgment that there is not to be found in any human composition a passage more eminently distinguished by profound and serene wisdom. Solomon's House takes the place in the New Atlantis of the Houses of Parliament in London. It is the home of the island government. But there are no politicians there, no insolent elected persons, no national palaver, as Carlyle would say, no parties, caucuses, primaries, conventions, campaigns, buttons, lithographs, editorials, speeches, lies, and elections. The idea of filling public office by such dramatic methods seems never to have entered the heads of these Atlantans. But the road to the heights of scientific repute is open to all, and only those who have traveled the road sit in the councils of the state. It is a government of the people and for the people by the selected best of the people, a government by technicians, architects, astronomers, geologists, biologists, physicians, chemists, economists, sociologists, psychologists, and philosophers. Complicated enough, but think of a government without politicians. Indeed, there is little government at all in the New Atlantis. These governors are engaged rather in controlling nature than in ruling man. The end of our foundation is the knowledge of causes and secret motions of things, and the enlarging of the bounds of human empire to the effecting of all things possible. This is the key sentence of the book and of Francis Bacon. We find the governors engaged in such undignified tasks as studying the stars, arranging to utilize for industry the power of falling water, developing gases for the cure of various ailments, experimenting on animals for surgical knowledge, growing new varieties of plants and animals by crossbreeding, etc. We imitate the flights of birds. We have some degree of flying in the air. We have ships and boats for going underwater. There is foreign trade, but of an unusual sort. The island produces what it consumes and consumes what it produces. It does not go to war for foreign markets. We maintain a trade not of gold, silver, or jewels, nor for silks, nor for spices, nor for any other commodity or matter, but only for God's first creature, which was light, to have light of the growth of all parts of the world. These merchants of light are members of Solomon's House who are sent abroad every 12 years to live among foreign peoples of every quarter of the civilized globe, to learn their language and study their sciences and industries and literatures, and to return at the end of the 12 years to report their findings to the leaders of Solomon's House, while their places abroad are taken by a new group of scientific explorers. In this way, the best of all the world comes soon to the New Atlantis. Brief as the picture is, we see in it again the outline of every philosopher's utopia, a people guided in peace and modest plenty by their wisest men. The dream of every thinker is to replace the politician by the scientist. Why does it remain only a dream after so many incarnations? Is it because the thinker is too dreamily intellectual to go out into the arena of affairs and build his concept into reality? Is it because the hard ambition of the narrowly acquisitive soul is forever destined to overcome the gentle and scrupulous aspirations of philosophers and saints? Or is it that science is not yet grown to maturity and conscious power, that only in our day do physicists and chemists and technicians begin to see that the rising role of science in industry and war gives them a pivotal position in social strategy, and points to the time when their organized strength will persuade the world to call them to leadership? Perhaps science has not yet merited the mastery of the world, and perhaps in a little while it will.
Distance between the stretches of pain will not divide us. I remain. Hands of injustice that took you away can't separate us. I remain. Through walls and bars and running streams, over rising hills and sinking valleys, with God as our strength to carry us through. Oh, I remain,
Lucy Mack Smith said of her daughter-in-law Emma, "I have never seen a woman in my life who would endure every species of fatigue and hardship from month to month and from year to year with that unflinching courage, zeal, and patience which she has ever done. For I know that which she has had to endure. She has been tossed upon the ocean of uncertainty. She has breasted the storms of persecution and buffeted the rage of men and devils, which would have worn down almost any other."
Never had an ordinary day. Never lived your life in an ordinary way. For everything you loved, you paid a price, but you couldn't let the world see you cry. Never had a moment of peace. Never felt the sunlight when the worries set you free. Every time your life turned a page, it seemed like your heart might break. With the world on your shoulders, when the nights had grown colder, you seemed to weather every storm with the breeze grace. When you lost your husband, when you buried your children, I'm sure the angels stood in reverence as you prayed. How much can one heart take? How much can one heart take? Never had a day to call your own. So many needed your warm heart as a home, whispering a mother's lullaby as you sat by the fire. With the world on your shoulders, when the nights had grown colder, you seemed to weather every storm with the breeze grace. When you lost your husband, when you buried your children, I'm sure the angels stood in reverence as you prayed. How much can one heart take? How much can one heart take? With the world on your shoulders, when the nights had grown colder, you seemed to weather every storm with the Queen's grace. When you lost your husband, when you buried your children, I'm sure the angels stood in reverence as you prayed. I'm sure your heart breaks when some people still say, somewhere down the line you